There's a footy in there, a dual international as well. He's played lots of footy games and has so many stories to tell.
Oh, stop that racket. It's story time with Matt Rogers.
That's right. It is story time with Matt Rogers, my husband, dual international. He told a story yesterday about how he lost finger number one. He's already lost one digit. This was back in 1981.
81.
Stuck his hand in an exercise bike. He's about to tell us how he lost his other finger.
Just on that too, that night, so was the Dally M Awards. So just to finish that story off. So Mum took me to the hospital. They stitched me up. They left me in hospital overnight. She then went home. They got the limo. They ended up getting to the Dally M Awards on time, and my dad won the gold Dally M that night. So
wow,
yeah, player of the season.
Do you reckon if he didn't win it, you would have been in more trouble?
I don't know. I think that I sort of took the. I don't think it took
the finger off.
Didn't take the gloss off the win. You know, I think. Yeah, look, it all sort of made for a great night. You know,
right.
like just a little bit more drama.
So how did you lose the other finger?
So the other one, this was in 2000, what year was it? 2010.
The year before you retired, wasn't it?
Was it the year before or the year I retired? No, it was the year I retired.
Was it the year of?
2010.
Mm.
Yeah, second game of the season, I think it was. The second or the first.
I thought you did it in training initially, didn't you?
No.
Was it in a game?
In a game. Against the Rabbitohs. Yeah, I remember the person. I remember how it happened. So I'm missing my pinky. My pinky on my right hand's gone completely.
Yeah.
And that was because, you know, I always used to carry the ball on my left arm and I would fend with my right. If you were tackling me from the left side, then I didn't have a fend. So I never changed the ball. Like, I don't know why, but that was just the way it was. Anyway, this guy was coming in from my right side and I've gone to fend him off and my pinky finger got caught in his collar.
Jersey.
Yeah, in the collar of his jersey.
Oh, gosh.
It was just such a weird thing. And as I pushed him off, my finger sort of like stuck in his shirt. It was like it was stuck in like his button or something. Like I don't even know how it happened. And it just sort of like reefed my finger. Didn't pull it off.
It didn't come off.
No.
Not yet.
Didn't pull it off, but
just hurt it.
Sort of, got away from him, ended up getting tackled, got up, played the ball, and I'm thinking, my hand feels really strange right now. And I've looked at my hand and my pinky, which is already next to a finger that's cut off,
right,
is like flipped around the other way.
Oh dear!
And the fingernail is. I'm looking at my palm, and I'm looking at my fingernail.
Oh dear!
I'm thinking that's not right. So I've tried to do a bit of some running repair on the field, and I've twisted it around,
goodness.
and it sort of like jumped back into its socket. So like,
so you're like, sweet, game on.
I'm like, yeah, I'm sweet, I'm good. And then the next time I've tried to catch the ball and like close my hand, it just jumped back out of its socket again, and it kept popping out, and like it was on a really bizarre angle, and I'm like, this is really not good. So I called the trainer over. I'm like, what's going on with this? And he goes, oh, yeah, you've broken it. Probably dislocated it. Oh yeah, you've dislocated it. Yeah, that's not a good thing. I was like, what do I need to do? Like, can you? Because it wasn't really hurting at the time. It was sort of like the adrenaline and everything was just like, just fix it. Just do what I need to do to keep playing, you know. So they just taped it up to the other finger, so it would basically sort of stay in line
where it needed to stay.
Yeah. After the game, like as soon as I took the tape off, as soon as I tried to bend my hand, like close my hand or make a fist, it would just pop out of its socket. Like pop out of it.
Ew.
Because what I'd actually done, and I didn't realise this, is the doctor told me I'd snapped the tendon that aligns your finger and controls the movement. So, like I would close my hand, it would move, but it wasn't being controlled by the tendon, and it would just jump out of its socket.
Oh gosh, how good's footy, kids?
Oh, so good, so good.
Don't go anywhere. More of Story Time with Matt Rogers coming up after this on Good Taste Breaky with Chloe and her family locked away. This is Good Taste Breaky with Chloe and her family locked away. If you've just tuned in, we are listening to Story Time with Matt Rogers. Let me set the scene for you. Here's Pinky. This is digit number 2 that he ends up losing. He has injured in a game.
Anyway, so I say to the doctor, like, mind you, this is 2010, it's my last year. Like I'd decided I'm going to retire at the end of this year.
Yeah.
So I said to the doctor, what's the deal here? And he goes, we've got to repair the tendon. And I'm like, so what's that mean? And he goes, well, you're going to be out for 3 months. I'm like, 3 months, like 12 weeks. I'm going to miss 12 weeks of football for my pinky.
For your pinky. That would have been fun telling your team that.
Yeah, well, that was it. That's exactly what I thought. I'm like, imagine going to Luke Bailey one of the toughest front rowers to play the game, and he says, "Are you playing this week?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm out." He's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Oh, sore pinky." Sore pinky. He would just, I would be embarrassed to say it. So I'm like, I've got to find a way to make this work. So I said to the doctor, "Can we put it off till the end of the year?" And he's like, "Yeah, but I'm not going to guarantee I'm going to be able to fix it. Like the longer you put it off, the more damage you're going to do." So I ended up, I had to get some painkillers to play every game, but during the week I wasn't allowed to have them because you don't want to get cause any sort of issues with medication and stuff. So I would go to training and I would train just with my hand taped. And I was playing in the halves at the time. I was playing 5'8". So I've got Scott Prince firing balls at me, 100 times a day at training. And I was in that much pain. I don't think I've ever experienced pain like it. And you can attest to how much.
I actually have never heard you whinge so much as when you had a sore pinky.
Yeah.
Like you have broken every other bone in your body.
Neck surgery, knee surgery, shoulder surgery.
Literally have never heard you whinge so much aside from this pinky.
Yeah. So it was horrific. It was the worst injury because it was my right hand. And it was the hand I used to do everything. So it got to the end of the season, and I said to the doctor, "Can we fix it?" And I was retired at this point, and he was like, "Oh, look, it's going to take a few more surgeries now. Like we're going to have to put a pin in here, and then we'll have to come back a few months later, and we'll have to do this, and then we have to put a tube in there." And it was just like horrific. Like it was going to be basically a year worth of different surgeries to try to get my pinky to work. But the thing was, it was in such a bad position that I couldn't leave it the way it was.
Right. So what did you do?
So I said, "What's the other option?" He goes, "Well, we'll just chop it off." And I was like, "Oh, that is a big deal. I'm not going to have a pinky." He's like, "Yeah, but I mean, you don't have one now anyway. It's getting in the way of everything." So I rang some people that I know who are missing pinkies. And they were two motorcycle friends of mine. One was Mick Doohan, and he's missing a pinky.
Yep.
And the other was Troy Bayless.
Troy, that's right.
Yeah, so I spoke to Troy. Troy was very adamant. He said, "Mate, don't cut it off." And I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Mate, you will regret it." And I'm thinking to myself, it's a pinky. Surely, like...
You don't need a pinky.
I don't need what do you need a pinky for? I'll tell you where you need
It's like an afterthought.
I'll tell you where you need a pinky.
Of a finger.
I'll tell you where you need a pinky, particularly on your right hand, is where when you're going through Macca's drive-through or any drive-through and they hand you change. Because that pinky shuts your hand down.
Right, yeah.
So
So there's a big hole.
Yeah.
All the coins drop out the bottom.
Yeah. But you didn't... I reckon I've lost, in 10 years? I reckon I've lost...
Hundreds of dollars.
Hundreds of dollars in drive-throughs.
Thanks to that
don't
pinky.
even bother.
And do you think that's why Troy was warning you not to cut it off because of the coins that you lose?
Yeah, well, see, that was before PayWave. Right. So you couldn't PayWave back in those days. You had to use money. And, so, no, it wasn't really the reason. But he was just like, when you lose a part of you, like it does
still
affect
feels like it's there?
Well, it does, yeah. So
Sometimes.
Anyway, so I make the decision. Even after Troy's advice, I'm like, all right, Doc, chop it off. So I had it chopped off. And man, oh man, I wish I had listened to Troy.
Really?
Oh man, for 3 months. Like you remember, it was nauseating. The feelings that I would have, I would get an itchy finger and it wasn't there.
Oh no!
And I would put my hand because there were parts of the skin on the bottom of my hand that hadn't touched anything for so long because my pinky was bent into a position where that couldn't touch anything. I felt like I'd put my hand on a table. And I felt like my fingers were in the table.
Oh, dear.
Or when I was grabbing a drink, it was the most bizarre. And then, to top it off, I started losing money in drive-thrus.
Yeah.
And that was.
You know how you could have made that money back?
Yeah.
If you had that finger taxidermed and auctioned it off.
I tried.
That would have been better than a signed Titans jersey any day of the week.
I tried to get it. I said to the doctor, I want my finger. And I was going to tattoo my autograph on it and mount it.
You could tattoo your face.
No, I was just going to tattoo my signature on the side of my finger. And I was going to present it to a good friend of mine. And he was so excited about it. Anyway, there's laws around keeping...
You can't take body parts out of the hospital, even if they're yours.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I was devastated.
Wow.
Anyway, so that's how I've lost 2 fingers. The love of rugby league cost me a finger. The love of my Titans cost me a finger.
And stupidity cost him the other one.
Yes.
You have been tuned to Story Time with Matt Rogers on Good Taste Breaky with Chloe and her family. Locked away.